Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a world where absolutely everyone, I mean, from the smartest scholars right down to the average person, they all believed this one fundamental thing about how the universe worked.
Right. The Earth is fixed. It's the center. Everything goes around us.
Exactly. And then you get this one quiet scholar, almost working in the shadows, who dares to suggest something completely different, something that, well, quite literally moves the Earth.
Uh-huh. And that's the journey we're taking today.
It's an extraordinary story.
It really is. It's just fascinating how one person, working pretty quietly, despite all the pressure from society, from the church, could fundamentally reshape how we see everything.
Totally.
So today we're doing a deep dive into the life and the revolutionary ideas of Nicolaus Copernicus, the astronomer who basically said, hang on, maybe the sun is at the center.
The heliocentric view, yeah.
Exactly. And that shift, well, it changed our cosmic address and really paved the way for all of modern astronomy.
So we've looked at historical accounts, biographical details, all that stuff to kind of boil it down for you.
Yeah, give you the essential pieces.
Our goal here is to pull out the most important bits so you walk away really understanding this guy and his world-altering theory. The idea that moved the Earth in our heads.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the man, Nicolaus Copernicus, or Mikulash Copernic originally. Born 1473, Horun, West Prussia. Now, interesting detail, German was likely his first language.
Right. Though he became a Polish citizen, part of the Kingdom of Poland then.
But it's his early life circumstances, especially after a big family event, that really steered him onto this path.
Yeah, that's crucial. See, his father died when he was, maybe 10 or 12? Somewhere in the mid-1480s.
Okay.
And his uncle, his mother's brother, Bishop Lucas Watson-Rode, stepped in. Now, this wasn't just like family duty. Watson-Rode was influential.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a powerful connection.
A very powerful connection. And it meant Copernicus got an incredible education. He studied all sorts of things, math, painting even, at Krakow. Then off to Italy for religious law in Bologna and Ferrara.
And medicine too, right, in Padua.
Practical medicine in Padua, yeah.
Yeah.
Though he didn't actually get a degree there. But this broad education was funded, critically, by getting him a position as a canon at Frombork Cathedral.
Right, so like a church official job gave him an income.
Exactly, financial security. And that freedom, that security, let him dive deeper into his real passion, the cosmos.
Yeah.
Even while he had these official church duties.
So he's juggling being a canon lawyer, a sort of physician, and secretly rewriting the map of the universe. Bet his colleagues just saw him as a dependable church administrator.
Pretty much. And, while he was studying law in Bologna, he actually lived with an astronomer, Domenico Maria Novara.
No way, they were roommates.
Yep. And Novara was known, according to historian Edward Rosen anyway, as someone who dared to challenge the authority of Ptolemy, the big name in astrology and astronomy then.
Wow. You can just imagine the late-night talks they must have had.
Exactly. So these influences, this really diverse, top-notch education, it was all setting the stage. Even when he went back to Poland, took up his canon duties, looked after his sick uncle.
He kept thinking about the stars.
He kept observing, kept calculating, laying that groundwork. It's really compelling how this mix of, different fields and having that financial stability just gave him the perfect setup.
The tools and the time, yeah.
The tools and the time to focus on what became his life's obsession.
And that obsession was going to clash head-on with centuries of accepted wisdom because, for generations, the standard picture of the universe was simple. Everything revolved around us, Earth.
The geocentric model, Ptolemy's model mostly, from way back in the 2nd century A.D.
Right. And didn't they have these really complicated ways to explain why planets sometimes looked like they went backward?
Oh, yeah. Epicycles, like little circles moving along bigger circles.
Yeah.
It got incredibly complex, trying to make the observations fit the Earth-centered idea.
Aristotle had his theories, too, about perfect circles around Earth. It was the established truth, backed by, well, everyone, especially the church.
Which leads to the big question, why? Why challenge something everyone just knew was right?
Good question.
Well, Copernicus, he read people like Regiomontanus, whose work in the 15th century, The Epitome of the Almagest, already pointed out some issues with Ptolemy's system. Copernicus saw inconsistencies.
Mathematically messy.
Exactly. It worked for predictions, sort of, but he felt it was clunky. Philosophically unsatisfying, maybe. So around 1508, he starts thinking about his own model.
And flips it.
Flips it completely. Puts the sun, not the Earth, at the center, and says the planets, including Earth, orbit the sun. And how fast they go and how big their orbit is depends on how far they are from the sun.
That's huge for the time. A
Yeah.
direct response to all those complex epicycles needed to keep Earth still.
Absolutely revolutionary.
But wait, wasn't there someone, like, way, way back who had a similar idea? An ancient Greek guy.
Ah, you're thinking of Aristarchus of Samos. Yes, good point. Way back in the 3rd century BC,
Right.
he did propose a heliocentric system. Sun at the center, Earth revolving around it.
So why didn't that take off? Why Copernicus?
Well, Aristarchus's idea was largely dismissed. It didn't have the mathematical detail, the predictive power, maybe. And Ptolemy's Earth-centered view just became dominant, especially once it got backing from, powerful institutions like the Roman Catholic Church. It fit the worldview better.
Okay, so Aristarchus had the spark, but Copernicus built the engine, so to speak.
That's a great way to put it. Copernicus's system was far more detailed. It had the math. It offered, well, a more efficient way to calculate where the planets would be, a systematic model.
Even though he got some bits wrong, like the perfect circles.
Right. He still assumed perfect circles for orbits. That wouldn't get fixed until Johannes Kepler came along later and showed they were elliptical. But Copernicus did the groundwork. He even built his own observation post, a little turret, around 1513, to gather data.
So he wasn't just theorizing, he was observing.
Meticulously. His strength was the mathematical framework he built around the heliocentric idea. It wasn't just a concept like Aristarchus's, it was a working mathematical system.
Okay, so years of this. Observing, calculating, and then he starts writing it down. Around 1514, he finishes the Commentariolus.
The small commentary, yeah.
Yeah.
A short piece, maybe 40 pages.
Just laying out the basics.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Summarizing his heliocentric system, laying out these 7 core principles, these axioms.
And what were they saying, basically?
I mean, bombshells for the time. Things like, the Earth is not the center of the universe.
Whoa.
And the sun is the center and everything orbits it.
Yeah.
He even claimed he could explain it all with just 34 circles.
34, compared to Ptolemy's.
Which had grown to need over 80 complex circles and mechanisms to stay accurate. It was a huge simplification. Much more elegant, mathematically.
Did he publish this Commentariolus?
No, not formally. He circulated manuscript copies among friends, other scholars he knew.
Testing the waters.
Kind of. And apparently, it didn't cause a huge stir immediately, but the word started to get out. Quietly, among the intellectual circles. People started talking about Copernicus and his strange ideas.
And that quiet buzz eventually led to the big one, his main book.
De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, on the revolutions of the heavenly spheres.
Published right at the very end of his life, 1543.
Almost literally on his deathbed.
And this one definitely caused a stir. Controversy with a capital C.
Oh, absolutely. You have to think about how radical ideas get received, especially when they shake fundamental beliefs. Critics jumped on it immediately.
What were their main arguments?
Well, one big one was the parallax problem. If the Earth is moving around the sun, why don't the stars seem to shift position when we look at them from different points in our orbit?
Like looking at your thumb with one eye closed, then the other, it seems to jump against the background.
Exactly. They couldn't observe any stellar parallax back then. The stars were just too far away for their instruments. So no observed parallax meant to them the Earth must be stationary.
Okay, that makes sense from their perspective. What else?
They also pointed out he didn't really explain why the Earth would orbit the sun, what force was moving it. That physics wouldn't come until much later, with Newton.
But the biggest hurdle wasn't scientific objections, was it? It was the church.
Without a doubt. The Roman Catholic Church saw the theory as, well, heretical.
Because it knocked humanity off its central pedestal.
Precisely. It contradicted interpretations of Scripture that placed Earth and humans at the center of God's creation. Religious figures like Martin Luther were openly critical, and one minister, Andreas Osiander.
Oh, this is the scandalous part, isn't it?
It really is quite something. Osiander was involved in the printing, and he got nervous.
Right.
Really nervous about the backlash.
So what did he do?
He took it upon himself, completely without Copernicus's permission, to write a preface, a disclaimer, basically.
A disclaimer for Copernicus's own book.
Yes, saying, oh, hey, readers, this whole sun-centered thing, it's just a theory, a mathematical tool for calculation. Don't take it as, truth.
Wow, he just added that in
No.
and made it look like Copernicus wrote it.
Exactly. He presented it as if Copernicus himself was hedging his bets. But Copernicus believed it was real.
And Copernicus couldn't even defend himself.
Tragically, no. He'd suffered a stroke shortly before the book was published. He was too ill. Imagine, your life's work finally comes out and someone has stuck a note on the front saying, don't worry, he doesn't really mean it.
That's infuriating. Did Osiander ever get called out for it?
Not right away. It took years, actually, until Johannes Kepler revealed what Osiander had done.
So Copernicus even dedicated the book to the Pope, right? Pope Paul III, trying to smooth things over.
He did, likely hoping it might soften the blow or gain some official acceptance.
Didn't work, though.
Not in the long run. The Church officially banned De Revolutionibus in 1616, put it on the Index of Forbidden Books.
How long did it stay banned?
For a couple of centuries, actually. Though eventually, the sheer weight of evidence from later astronomers meant the ideas couldn't be denied, and it was removed from the list. But the initial reaction was strong opposition.
So May 24th, 1543, from Bork, Poland, Nicolaus Copernicus dies. And the story goes he was holding a copy of his book.
Yeah, the story is that he received the first printed copy of De Revolutionibus on the very day he died, perhaps just hours before. A really poignant, almost cinematic ending for someone who changed our whole view of the cosmos.
Absolutely. And it took Kepler, years later, to clear up that mess with Osiander's preface.
Yes, Kepler courageously pointed out the deception, making it clear that Osiander's note was not Copernicus's own words, restoring his true intentions.
And over time, Copernicus became this symbol, didn't he?
More than just an astronomer, he became like the archetype of the brave scientist, standing firm, maybe even alone, against the prevailing beliefs of the time, defending a theory based on observation and math.
Paving the way for others.
Definitely. His work was the foundation that people like Galileo built on, and Galileo certainly had his own run-ins with the church over it. And then Newton, who finally explained the why with gravity, just that ripple effect, One person daring to question can set off a whole chain reaction.
So when you boil it all down,
Yeah.
here's this quiet scholar working away, supported by his uncle, juggling duties, but driven by this passion. And he ends up fundamentally changing humanity's address in the universe.
Yeah.
It's an incredible reminder, really, of how dedication, maybe a bit of quiet courage, can reshape everything we think we know. You've now got the deep dive on the man who didn't just rearrange the planets in diagrams, but actually move the Earth in our collective mind.
And it really makes you think, doesn't it? Especially today, with so much information flying around, true, false, somewhere in between. What can we take from Copernicus's story? About the courage needed to really challenge what everyone else accepts, and about how long it can take, how difficult the road is for a truly revolutionary idea to actually stick.
Yeah, how do we figure out what's real, what's revealed by evidence and careful thought?
Versus what we just believe is true because it's comfortable or because authority tells us so. That's a question Copernicus forces